Morning, everyone. My name is Lori Paserno, and I've been with Arthrex for 13 years. I have been in the accounts receivable department. I was one of the key people with our initiative changing from our system that we previously had to SAP. Arthrex Corporation is located in Southwest Florida. Additional locations include Global Division, Munich, Germany, Singapore, as well as several subsidiaries and division centers throughout the Eastern and Western Hemisphere. Currently today, our credit card processing is only in domestic. We provide medical services in hospital surgery centers including the Army, Air Force, Navy, and VA hospitals. Our order volume currently is approximately 3,200 orders per day. We currently receive payments by lockbox and credit card. We average about $2 million per month in credit card payments. Prior to SAP, we had a total manual process that we accepted payments. We have, as I stated, lockbox and then our credit cards. Our credit card payments consisted of emails that were sent by customers requesting payments being done after the order has and the shipments have been sent out. We had no ability whatsoever to have any kind of web portal where customers were able to go on and make their own credit card payments. Some of the challenges that we did have was when we do have customers that are on COD, customer service would receive the telephone call. They would have to put the order on hold. They would need to call accounts receivable to get the authorization on the credit card. Well, some of the things we ran into is we were not able to estimate the taxes and the shipping, so we just did estimated charges for that, went out and did the authorizations for these orders, and then had to ship out product, wait until the invoice was created, and then manually go into our credit card processing and go ahead and do another authorization if the dollar values were different. So as you could see, there was a huge amount of manual effort on our part. If we had authorizations sitting out there and we never went out and did any settlements, we lost the authorizations. So we did run a risk of being in a situation where we had uncollectible funds there. As I said, we had no web portal for order entry. One of our biggest challenges is that we were nowhere near PCI compliant. With the fact that we do huge amounts of credit card processing with the government was not very happy with us with the fact that we were not able to store their credit cards. And we had no way of doing any kind of encryption on their credit cards. So what we were doing at the time was we had spreadsheets where we had the first 9 numbers, and then they would send us the last 4 numbers, or depending upon, of course, what kind of credit card it was. So this was one of the worst nightmares that we had, because that was the furthest thing from PCI compliance. So we needed to get into that. The other thing is that the cost of the credit cards that we were paying, because we only had level 1, that we were paying substantial amount of interchange fees. And the biggest challenge we had was we were limited to the payment options. We have many facilities where there's one pay station, but there's multiple ship-tos. So we were not able to make one payment that would cover all of the different entities. We would have to do all individual, which you could imagine was extremely time consuming. And then we would need to go into our accounting system and manually apply all of these payments. When we did go on to SAP and we did decide that we wanted to go with Paymetric, one of the biggest reasons why we picked Paymetric is because they gave us all the flexibility that we were looking for. We were able to go into SAP ECC and do all of our credit card processing through our customer service, through our open AR, which would be orders that have already shipped and customers are paying after shipment. And it gave us a lot of ability to be able to do the things that we needed to do. Biller Direct, that gave us the option of being able to sign customers up to go in and they can go ahead and pay their own bills as they wanted to. It also gave them the flexibility that if they were missing any invoices at the time, that they can reprint their invoices. Then we have Business Portal, where Business Portal is a in-house software where we give access to certain customers to go on and they can place their orders. They pay by credit card, and one of the additional options that they have is that they can place their orders, but we also give them free shipping for placing them on and paying by credit card. Customer service, they receive telephone calls from the customers and they want to pay at the time of the order. Customer service is able to take that take the credit card number. They go in and the credit card is encrypted. It's saved to the customer's account, so the next time the customer calls in to place an additional order, we already have that information and it's all encrypted. We only have the last 4 digits, so it saves a lot of time. And the customers are, of course, extremely happy because you're not constantly asking for their credit cards. Customer service, invoice payment, they're able to go on, make whatever payments they want, which is a huge opportunity for us. The biggest advantage that we do have with Paymetric now is that we do have level 2 and level 3, which are savings per year has substantially grown due to this fact. We currently take MasterCard, Visa, American Express. Currently, as I stated, we're only doing US and Canada, but eventually we're hoping to get other currencies in also. Some of the things that we needed to think about were, when we went live, what are we looking at of the system? And one of the things that we didn't realize what our full potential in Paymetric and what we could best get out of it was, of course, the level 3 and different things like that, which this has really, really improved our processing. Currently, before we were able to process 1 credit card at a time. We were not able to save credit cards, where with Paymetric, it has given us the ability to be able to take 1 credit card and save it amongst more than 1 customer. And that has definitely made an improvement on our manual process. Another thing that we had a very big issue with was, as I stated before, we would have a VA hospital that had 1 pay station and multiple ship-tos, and they would send us an email, tell us that they wanted it, say for instance, charge the card for $10,000 and it was paying for 20 different invoices on multiple accounts. Previously, we did not have the ability to do that, but today we do have that ability where we can go in, make 1 charge, and it automatically applies the payments, clears everything. The other thing that is one of the important things too is that we do have the automatic reconciliation for our credit cards, which it has been instrumental in our monthly closings. That has drastically decreased the amount of process time for us to do our reconciliations, where basically the system automatically does this for you. And of course, we have become PCI compliant, so that is one of the biggest, especially if you have software that out there where customers are going to be making payments, one of the advantages to that is being able to state that you are PCI compliant. So this way they feel it's secure and you will get more credit card payment, through the system. And I will turn it over.
Thank you very much, Lori. So let's talk about partnering with Paymetric and what value and services Paymetric can bring to your company. Paymetric is a global enterprise leader. We focus on integrating with large enterprises and the various systems which they have. We service thousands of different brands, and we're going to show you a slide here in a moment that lists many of the companies which are using Paymetric services. We process roughly over $35 billion worth of credit card volume through our gateway. The volume is predominantly in currencies that you're familiar with: US dollar, the euro, British pounds, etc. But we do have companies that process in up to 35 different currencies across the world. So a large volume of commerce is going through Paymetric systems. We do have a full-time support team, which is available 24/7, and their only focus is on providing support to companies and their integrated systems. They have no other responsibilities within the Paymetric organization. We do have a retention rate of 98% plus. Our customers, once they start using our services, stick with us because of the world-class service and support which we do provide. We do have our services located in state-of-the-art data centers. Paymetric owns the servers and the software. Only our employees are able to access them, and they are not in a shared service environment. They are strictly Paymetric servers and solutions that are maintained and managed by our own employees. Because of that, we're able to maintain a 100% multi-tenant cloud environment, and we are able to provide to each of our customers the same functionality immediately. So no need to queue up and wait for us to upgrade your internal systems 3 months after we've released a new product or service or an update or a patch. All of that is provided immediately to all of our customers simultaneously. We do pride ourselves on having internal security payment experts that can help you and give you some guidance on PCI, and we will defer for the most part to your QSA, who you've employed for the purpose of helping you maintain your PCI compliance. But we're familiar with the topic, and we do have internal security payments experts who have studied to be QSAs themselves. And we do have dedicated implementation teams which will provide consulting and professional services assistance in the integration not only of Paymetric's products and services, but in many cases the business logic functionality or the configuration of your ERP system itself. So not only do we have expertise with our own systems and services, but in many cases we can also extend that into the internal systems which you are using from other vendors. As I mentioned, there are thousands of different brands which are using Paymetric's services and products. This slide is really intended to give you an overview of the broad range of companies that are using Paymetric's services. There's no specific focus. So Arthrex is a medical device company. You'll see other companies listed here that are in the medical field that either provide medical services or sell medical devices. You'll see other companies which represent consumer brands that we're familiar with. There are some companies in the insurance field, others that are a business-to-business focus. The key that we want you to take away from this slide is that it doesn't matter who the company is, who their customer is, so long as there's a need to accept and securely accept electronic payments, that company could use Paymetric services. So roughly 30% of today's Fortune 100 companies are using Paymetric's products and services. Again, that's representative of thousands of different brands, many of which should be very familiar to you as you look across the logos on this slide. And we do enjoy a 98% retention rate among our customer base. Why do these companies trust and choose Paymetric? There's 4 reasons here that we've identified, and we're going to go through each of them quickly, and then Lori's going to talk about how this resonated with Arthrex. First of all, the intent is to simplify and streamline the integration of a company's systems with Paymetric services and ultimately with the financial partners that are helping to process those payments. In doing so, we provide a single integration point across the entire enterprise payment landscape for organizations. We help to connect global payments platforms. So most companies initially, when they begin accepting electronic payments, have a need to connect with just a single acquirer or processor. As an organization grows, or if there's already a global footprint, there will be a need to connect to multiple payment processors across the world. Paymetric does provide that integration capability with our platform. And we also helps to enable multi-channel enablement. So whether you're accepting payments from an e-commerce platform, you're doing so from a call center, or perhaps even a face-to-face retail scenario, we do have the ability to enable the acceptance of payments in each of those channels. This helps us streamline, or helps us help you streamline your business processes by up to 25% and reduce the amount of time and effort it takes not only to accept the payment cards, but also to secure them, as we see in the next point. So electronic payment acceptance can be fraught with a potential for fraud, and Paymetric Services are intended to help you reduce the risk of any kind of fraudulent activity, and also to maintain PCI compliance. The tokenization functionality that Paymetric provides is done so in a processor agnostic manner. The tokenization of account numbers is done between the merchant and Paymetric. Anytime that we pass on the information to a processor in order to enable an electronic payment, it's first passed to Paymetric with a token from the merchant, and it's done so securely. And then Paymetric is able to revert back to the raw account number before passing it on to the processor. In that way, a merchant doesn't need to worry about maintaining multiple tokenization formats in their system if they're working with multiple processors or acquirers. They're able to standardize that with Paymetric alone. We do have a world-class cloud-based security infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier, Paymetric does have a cloud-based environment that's hosted in data centers in which only Paymetric employees have access to the servers to not only maintain the hardware, but update the software. So that cloud security infrastructure allows us to ensure that only Paymetric employees have access to the data that's passing through those systems, and we can more fully secure it as opposed to being hosted in a shared data center. And the security solutions that we do provide are proprietary. They've been developed by Paymetric. They're not reliant on any third parties. Those are systems that Paymetric alone can secure and maintain. So all of this helps us reduce risk and chances of a breach for our merchant customers, and then help maintain PCI compliance and reduce the audit scope that companies are required to go through, sometimes up to 50%. So along with securing and simplifying, we help optimize and maximize your margins. A lot of this has to do with reducing the interchange fees which you pay. And Lori mentioned earlier that Arthrex is receiving or passing and qualifying for level 2 and level 3 interchange rates. Just to give a brief description of what that is, if that's not a term you're familiar with, the processing of payments when the instrument of payment is a purchase card or corporate card, there's many different terms that you'll hear for those. Whenever it is possible to send invoice header and or invoice line item data, so perhaps a purchase order number, a tax amount, the line item details such as the material that's being purchased, the quantity, the weights, etc. That type of information is sent with certain types of corporate cards or purchase cards, can reduce the interchange fees that you as a merchant will be paying for those transactions. And to keep the math very simple, perhaps if you or I were to use our personal card in a grocery store to make a purchase, the merchant may pay 3% of that transaction as their interchange fees. However, if I was making a business-to-business purchase with a corporate card and I present the card that my company has given me for expenses, perhaps the interchange rate that merchant would pay would fall from 2% or from 3% to 2%. And that's because they're providing this additional information with the transaction that allows the customer, when they review their credit card statement, to more easily match that with a purchase order, a receipt, some posting in their back end financial system. That information makes it easier for them to identify it, and therefore less likely to dispute that charge, and that reduces the cost not only for the merchant, but also for the processor, because they're not having to deal with these chargeback issues. So in reducing the interchange, there is a potential of saving a merchant sometimes tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on a monthly basis. So we definitely focus on helping you identify any cost savings that can be obtained by qualifying for level 2 or level 3 interchange rates. We also help you eliminate maintenance and IT costs because this is a cloud-based service. So Paymetric is responsible for the maintenance of the system. By using electronic payments, you're going to reduce your DSO rather than waiting 30 or 45 days for a wire transfer or a paper check to be sent. The processing of payments electronically typically happens in 2 to 3 days. And so you'll recognize a substantial reduction in your DSO when you're accepting secure electronic payments. We also help automate the order to cash process or business logic workflow in many of your large ERP systems. Systems like SAP and Oracle have built in the ability to accept electronic payments as part of the order to cash process. The business logic is there. We just plug into the integration pieces so that whenever a credit card or an electronic check is chosen, the method of payment can be processed in line with the order to cash workflow. So again, optimize and focus on reducing your interchange costs, in some cases by up to 30%. Again, that can translate to real savings of tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Finally, scale. Paymetric systems are designed for growth. We do offer a global support system. We have customers around the globe who are using our products 24/7 by 365. We do support the expansion into different enterprise channels. And because we do plug into these large ERP systems, which already contain the business logic and underpinnings for accepting electronic payments in the order to cash or the post-invoice scenarios, we're going to help you maximize the investment you've already made in those large ERP systems. In turn, this is going to help reduce the speed to market of your enterprise system by up to 25%, again, translating into real cost savings for you. All right, so at this point, let me turn it back over to Lori and have her go through those same 4 points and tell you exactly how Arthrex has benefited.
One thing that we did come to know is knowing what your options are and deciding on your process flow is very important. When we first went live, we didn't realize the obstacles that we would need to work through. Examples would be the ability to save credit cards on multiple customer master records and the ability to charge multiple customers at one time. So what we did end up having to do is we did end up having to do an upgrade, but prior to that upgrade, we really looked at all of the processes throughout and any changes that may come in the future to make sure that we had all of the options to be able to handle those processes too. With the benefits that we have received is, as I stated before, multiple payment types that we're able to do. We can do single transactions, we could do multiple transactions, we can combine. There's a lot of flexibility that you have there. Eliminating a manual process where customers no longer have to send emails to us, call us on the phone to do credit card payments. They have the ability to go on Biller Direct and be able to do the payments themselves, which automatically goes out, authorizes the credit card, and it will apply the payments automatically to the invoices that they are paying, which was all a manual process before. Better reporting, as I stated before, we do have the automated reconciliation, which has saved huge amounts of time going through, not having to worry about all of this manual process of we have authorized the credit card, did we settle the credit card, and looking for all of these differences within our credit card process compared to matching it with our deposits. It's all done automatic now. As we stated with the PCI, the burden is off us now, because now with working with Paymetric, we went through practices, tests, and everything else to make sure that we are PCI compliant. So The burden now is not on Arthrex anymore, it is with Paymetric. And we feel very, very confident that all of the testing and everything else was done up to our satisfaction. Decreased time and effort to complete the PCI audits also. Lowering costs, this was one of the biggest things, is with passing level 2 and level 3 data, the customers are also a lot more pleased with it, because when they are receiving, especially with the government, when they are receiving their credit card statements, now that we're passing level 2 and 3, it's more descriptive on their credit cards. They're able to recognize exactly what these charges are for, where previously all they had were charges on their credit card statement. They would have to call us back to ask us what was the PO number, what products were being sold, and all that other kind of information that they needed in order to do their reconciliation, where now that we have the level 3 and passing that, now it actually helps our customers to be able to do their reconciliations too. Collections and bad debt has lowered because we don't have the issues that we did before with credit card authorizations, taking authorizations, having product on back order. We had to wait a week maybe for that back order to be filled, and then the authorization was no longer good, trying to go out and charging the credit card again. It failed because there was, insufficient funds on the card. So we did have a lot of challenges with our bad debt, where now we're guaranteed that once that authorization is done and the product is shipped out, it automatically settles the next morning. More predictability and costs over the long run. We know approximately how much our savings are going to be. We can have a better grasp on what our credit card processing is going to be. So even as far as our cash flow, we are able to manage that cash flow a lot better. Ability to expand into other countries, as stated before, Germany is going to be the next one that is going to start with credit card processing, and we do have many others that are looking forward to it also. We have just moved our server and everything into the cloud, so even as far as that processing goes, it has dramatically increased. And, one thing that I do want to say is that even though we did have some challenges with the implementation of Paymetric, the Paymetric support group was instrumental in working with us to upgrade our processes for all of our requirements and needs. They really sat down, listened, and worked with us to make sure that we were totally satisfied with the process, and we have been extremely happy with the process. We no longer have to worry about continuously hiring people, because we have actually been able to take people off of these processes and put them in other areas where they are doing other functional administrative work instead of having to do this. Paymetric is one company for professional service and solutions. As I stated, I think that their support group, anytime that I've called, morning, noon, and night, they've always been there and returned my calls within a very timely manner.
Thank you, Lori. And just one quick note about Biller Direct, and that's a point that's going to apply to almost any electronic bill presentment and payment solution. Once you start shifting the acceptance of payments away from an internal customer service agent on the phone to allowing your customer to do that in a self-service manner, which is what Biller Direct and other bill pay solutions are intended to do, that's also going to help you address PCI compliance issues, because now you're removing the exposure of the raw card not only from your systems, but from your employees, and you're allowing your customers to manage the process of applying a payment from their own devices. So we're seeing a lot of companies start that move. Biller Direct is a product that SAP's had for quite some time, which Arthrex uses in order to allow for that customer self-service payment process. And we're starting to see a lot more companies move that way. So again, Lori, thank you so much for your input at this point.